Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another fun DIY video. Today I have some easy and budget-friendly farmhouse DIYs. Some of these would be great for a tiered tray. And yeah, let's get straight into today's video. For this first one, I have this little washboard decor piece. This looks like it was from Target. My friend Kendra sent this to me in a little collab that we did. But I believe there have been some form of washboards also at the Dollar Tree, and it's a pretty traditional like farmhouse style decor piece. So I think you could probably pick something up at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby at different times as well. But I just wanted to give you a really quick and easy idea. It's very simple to do little DIYs. I have this leaf garland, I believe it's from Hobby Lobby, and I'm just wrapping it around itself to make a wreath. And I didn't want to put glue straight on my wreath because I want to be able to take it off and redo this if I want to in the future. So I just tied a little bit of jute twine on the back. It's totally hidden from the front. I kind of create a little bit of a knot there so that I have a place to use the hot glue, but you could just simply glue a wreath straight to the piece. But this is just my little way of doing it so that I don't ruin the garland if I want to take it off, because I do redo a lot of my DIYs because, you know, I make a lot of them. So I use them for a little while and then I take them apart and repurpose everything. And then I have this wood word. I believe this is from the Dollar Tree, but you can get these from other craft stores as well. And I'm just putting a little bit of hot glue on just a couple of touch points. You could also use like super glue gel or something else if you wanted something that you wanted it to last a little bit longer, but I don't typically have trouble with hot glue unless it's like something that's going to be out in the sun. And I just attached this bless to the top, and that was it. Just gluing a couple of things on really just made that piece over. And I love how this one came out. Great little, I guess like a leaner sign. And yeah, I was super happy with this one. So this next one isn't complicated, but has a few more steps. I have this bamboo ring. This is from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a 2-pack in 2 different sizes. I believe this is the smaller one. And we're just going to give this a coat of white paint. I'm using some acrylic paint. When I was filming this one, I did not have any more chalk paint. I do get some chalk paint in the time it took me to finish this video, so I use that later on. But yeah, we're just going to paint this. I'm going to paint the insides and the edges. And this is like a raw piece, so it just sucks up the wood. Or sucks up the paint, no problem. And I have some burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree, as well as this stencil from the Dollar Tree, and I just wanted to stencil on the word family. And this is a burlap ribbon, and ribbon in general, the paint's probably going to go through, so I have just a plastic mat underneath, which I typically do a lot of my work on. And I'm just using a little bit of white paint. Make sure you don't oversaturate it. That's how you get bleed through when you're stenciling. So I'm just going lightly over this. Another tip is to go for farmhouse, which is what I'm doing, because it doesn't need to be crisp and clean when you're doing farmhouse. So anyways, I'm going in with a small paintbrush. I wanted to connect, you can see how the paint came through there. I wanted to connect my letters because I just like how that looks a little bit better. So I'm just using a small paintbrush. I also went over a couple spots that were a little bit lighter than I wanted, but I just touched it up with a little paintbrush where I wanted to connect the letters and where I needed it brightened up a little bit. Not too much. I didn't want it to be, I didn't want to overthink it. Overthinking it with paint and stencils is usually where you end up messing it up. So I just tried to keep it pretty simple here, but just, you know, use whatever stencils you have, and you can always make some adjustments with a small paintbrush. And then we're going to let this dry. I'm going to trim this up. Now my intention, I forgot by the time I got to this step, was to double up the ribbon once it was painted, because I didn't want the paint to go through both of them. But before I cut it here, I was going to double it up, and I forgot. But that's okay. I'm going to show you a couple of things that I had to change on this. I'm going to show you the changes. But anyways, we're going to just glue this across, and I'm just using a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to use this little silicone spatula that's from the makeup department in Dollar Tree. You can also use the little finger protectors. Dollar Tree sells those as well. And I'm just going to use some hot glue, and I'm going to wrap it really tight because I wanted it to be nice and taut in the front, and fold that over and make a little kind of banner on it. Now I'm taking some lamb's ear scraps from a piece that I have that I've been pulling from for a while, and I want to make a little bit of some greenery pieces to attach to this. This is a mini wreath. We're going to use it more as like a door hanger or to hang on some hooks. And I'm going to start by just gluing a couple of my pieces together. There's not a lot of surface on this, obviously, to glue the pieces, so I'm just trying to arrange it well ahead of time, and just make sure that you hold it down, protect your fingers, and then hold it down until the glue begins to actually cool and set, because greenery and floral stems have pretty stiff like centers to them, and they'll just kind of bounce back up. And then I have this burlap sticker from the Dollar Tree, and I pulled off the sticker part because I wanted to use some hot glue, and I just put that there in the center. I think I do end up trimming up one of these leaves. We'll get back to that because I felt like it was kind of overshadowing the word a little bit. So first I wanted to do a little hanger at the top. I just tied this on with didn't tie it, with a little loop technique where you just slide the ends in through a loop. And then I have these wood beads that I picked up at Hobby Lobby. This was from their Christmas craft area, and obviously they're not Christmassy, but I got it when it was 75% off, so there's a score. And I wanted to just tie these beads on. The little beads are just, I think, from Dollar Tree, just something that I had in my stash, and I thought that this was really cute. The problem is that if you hang this up, well, first of all, I'll show you. Yeah, I'm just going to clip off one of those leaves because I felt like it was covering the word a little too much. But the problem is with the greenery on one side, it wouldn't hang nice. It's going to like turn topsy-turvy. So I thought about trying to put a weight on it in the back of the ring to balance it out, but instead I decided to redo my hanger. So I took that off, and we're just going to tie on some twine on each side, but I wanted to keep a little bit of the bead detail, and I needed to balance it out. So I decided to just put some beads on one side of the twine. I ended up adding a third bead when I did it this way. But I just wanted to show you a way to kind of solve that problem if you do something that is off sides. And it's still kind of like the beads kind of balance it out without making it totally symmetrical, if that makes sense, because there's the greenery on one side, the beads on the other. Anyways, I thought that this was really cute. This could also be added to the center of another wreath. I'm just going to use it as like maybe a door hanger, I'm not sure, or just like on some decorative hooks. But you can see here, I just tied that on, and I am going to just thread that last little bit of twine through the bottom one, and then I trimmed it off. I did end up putting, I didn't show you it, but I did put a dab of glue at the bottom where I tied that knot as well, just to keep that all in place, and that balances it out. Now, filming these things is always difficult. It was also a really cloudy day when I filmed this, which keeps happening to me. So there's a lot of shadows here, so I just wanted to show it to you. There's a little bit of shadows here too, but show it to you in a couple different ways so you could get a good look at it. But I love how this one came out. This one was a super fun one to make. For our next DIY, I have just a scrap piece of wood, just a little stub of a wood piece. And I've got Snow White by Waverly. Is this replacing the regular white? Because my store didn't have the regular white anymore. It just had the Snow White. So I don't really know how different it was from the white, but I was out, I replenished it. This is what I've got. We're just going to give this piece of wood a coat on all of the sides and the ends. The ends are rough cut, so I just kind of had to put a little bit more paint there to make sure it was covered. Although I didn't need to cover it perfectly because we are going to sand it down and make it look a little bit more rustic. And then I'm going to use Moss by Waverly and another stencil. I guess this is the same stencil we already used because there's the family, but and I'm going to stencil on Faith. Now my moss paint was pretty thick, so I put a little bit of water in there and shook it up, but I didn't mix it, and I should have. So this got really, like the shaking it up did not mix it enough, got really watery and totally bled through. So that looks horrible. So I wiped it off, put on a little bit of white paint, but actually the white paint was still drying, so I just flipped this over to do another side, and I took a popsicle stick and stirred up the paint. It's still really thick, but stirring it up with a popsicle stick did the trick. So I just stenciled it, and then I did touch up a little bit with my paintbrush and once again closed up some of those letters. I guess just the one letter for this word. And this is just a cute little piece for like a tiered tray. I love this color, moss, and celery is another color from Waverly. I love that for like my everyday decor color, and also blends really well into spring. And once that was fully dry, of course, you don't want to do this while the paint could still be wet. I just sanded down the edges to bring out the wood and just kind of faded down the word a little bit. And then I'm going to seal this project with some DIY wax. It's just a clear wax. You could also use Mod Podge or something else, but the wax gives it a really nice finish and it just kind of seals in your paint. And I like the, I don't know, feels finished. Yeah. And I'm just buffing that in with a piece of an old t-shirt. And that's how this one came out. You can see, I got really close. So you could see like the wood grain. It can be a rough piece of wood. It doesn't have to be anything like, you know, super finished and polished. And this was a fun one. My last DIY, these last two were just, well, I guess 3 of these 4 were really just kind of quick, easy, simple type of pieces. This is a little cutting board decorative piece. This was also sent to me by Kendra when we did our little collab, and I should have just sanded it from the beginning. I started just by putting more paint over the words, but I should have sanded it at first. So now I'm pretty much just sanding off paint. I didn't need to sand it off altogether. I just wanted it to cover better. So we're going to clean up our little mess here, and now we're going to go in with some paint again. I went heavier on those slats, but I do paint the whole thing. But I wanted this in the end to be very rustic-y farmhouse. Once again, this is a great little tier tray piece. I'll be honest, my tier tray still has Christmas stuff on it, so that's why I didn't show it to you on a tier tray. But we're going to paint the edges, and I'm going to paint the back too, just because I wanted, I don't know, I just wanted it to look more complete. So I wanted to get the paint out of the center, not completely, but I didn't want it to be as heavy there. So I was trying to go in with sandpaper and it wasn't working. So I just went in with this little tool. It's supposed to be like a Cricut tool, but it's from Dollar Tree. I don't have a Cricut and I use their tools all the time. And I'm just scraping that to kind of just fade down that white in between the slats because I just wanted it to look old and worn and not like it was freshly painted. And then I'm taking this stencil from the Dollar Tree. This is a really fun stencil. I have 2 of these that are like a similar material. And I didn't have anything that fit right on the cutting board, but I was like, I can divide it up. You see those signs with home where the H and O is on one line, M and E is on the other. So that's what we're going to do. So I just figured out where I wanted that to be placed so it would all be centered. Just a little bit. We're going to use that moss paint again. So just a little bit on the paintbrush. Make sure you dab a lot of it off. It's better to go over it a couple times than to put too much on. And I don't need it to be super dark. I don't mind seeing the white through it. Peel that off, worked great. And I like to use a baby wipe or a damp paper towel kind of right away on the stencils. It's just so much easier to clean them. And then I lined the M and the E up underneath that, just making sure that it was all even. And that's how this one came out. I thought about putting a bow on the top. You could certainly do that if you want to add in a little bit more detail, but I'm going for more like crisp, clean right now. I kind of go over the top with Christmas and fall stuff, and so I just kind of like other stuff to just be a little bit more simple, but add as many details as you want. I'm also just scraping those lines again, and we're going to sand over the whole thing. Don't go too hard. Make sure your paint is like dry. I didn't want to sand it all off, but I did want to just kind of fade that down a little bit. And that's just my style preference. You don't have to do that, but I love how this came out. You can see like the rustic, rough edges, and that is it for this DIY. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up or a little thumbs up. I guess they're all the same. Anyway, so that helps out my channel so much. If you're new, I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing by hitting that subscribe button. If it's still red, you're not yet subscribed, make sure you turn your notifications on to all so that you don't miss my future videos. It also helps my channel out so much. It helps my channel grow. It helps YouTube want to push out my videos to more people, which is very helpful to me. So all that to say, thanks so much for watching. See you in my next one. Bye, guys.